Alrighty, it might be a bit loud, I think. Right, hopefully you can hear me better. Alrighty, hey, Merry Christmas everybody, and almost a Happy New Year. This is the 28th, 29th, 28th? Christ, I don't know. So it's between Christmas and New Year. It's been a shit summer so far. We have not seen the sun since the Christmas holidays started. It's been warmish, it's been wet, it's been cloudy, but we have not seen the big yellow thing in the sky very much at all. I'm way behind on my outdoor chores, and I had to work for a couple of days. I got called out on some urgent jobs, and they took me quite a bit of time. Never mind. My lovely wife had given me some birthday vouchers for records and also some additional vouchers for Christmas. Now she did order me the 12 LP box set of live coloured vinyl of the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard live set from Needle Juice Records, which was pre-ordered way back in February this year. They were supposed to ship it out around September. I remember getting a email around June saying they were on target. Then, of course, it didn't get out on target and it was delayed. Then it was delayed some more. And then finally it arrived, but they still haven't fucking sent my copy. And I've been emailing them, and oh yes, we'll get onto it. Now I do know at least one person in America, in the States, who has his copy, and he got that quite some time ago. And I still haven't had a shipping notice, so I had nothing. She had nothing to give me for Christmas, because that was quite a big purchase. It was going to be a birthday Christmas combine. So she's bought me some vouchers. So I went into town today. We both went into town today, and I cashed in those vouchers, and I also took in half a dozen or more records to trade, because I didn't really get into them. There was one New Zealand one and one I had 2 copies of that I'd ended up with, blah blah blah. I get really good trade-ins there for at this place, because they know me so well, and every time I go into their shop I walk out with large amounts of records, which I did today. So today's been a really good score, much better than I expected. But I'll get to those in a moment, because I'll just talk about a couple of other records that have turned up. So I went to a gig, album release gig a couple of weeks or so back, and finally have got my hands on this beautiful record. This is a double LP. It has been in the can for 6 years, nearly. Or more, actually. It was recorded back in 2017. Now, Regan from Coco Muse Records releases, and this is the 8th release on that label, and I have all the previous releases. He loves this band. He rants about this band. I've seen him at their concerts and how much he gets into this band. I love this band. I've seen them 3 times, I think, now live. Always, maybe 4 actually. Always impressive. They are a duo of drums, and the lady, what's her name? Gabrielle. She plays violin and saxophones. This is wild free jazz. This is pretty much improvised stuff. This recording is fantastic. It sounds fantastic. Considering how old it is, it still sounds cool. They still are an amazing band, and I will see them every time. So yeah, Regan's been promising me this for about 3 years. I remember seeing him in a gig around about 2020. It might have been just after lockdown, the first lockdown. And he said it was coming, and it didn't come, and I was sort of almost given up on it. And then bang, it just appeared out of nowhere. So wow, I'm really pleased. And then the next weekend, there was another gig on, and I went to that, and I picked up this. at the gig. This is the Cavemen's new LP, Cash for Scrap. They're a raucous garage band from Auckland. Although I think they resided in the UK for quite a few years. I don't know if they're back in New Zealand, because this is the second time I've seen them live in like the last year or so. Good LP, really good. I mean, all their LPs good. This is probably about their 5th LP or something. They weren't as good live this time as the first time I saw them. There was actually a local band that played, who I thought upstaged them a little bit actually. This I think is just on black vinyl. This one? Yeah, just a black vinyl copy. Really cool. So, pleased to get that. And it was a good gig. It was a pretty cool gig. And I think, from memory, the sewage is just on a black vinyl as well, actually. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Okay, so, also it's turned up this week is the volume 3 of this compilation series from the Backline Trust, who are a trust project from Hawke's Bay area, and they get people to submit tracks for these compilations. As I say, this is volume 3. They don't make these commercially available, so you'll be very lucky to find them in the shops. I actually write to them, email them, and ask them if they will send me a copy. Originally I asked them if I could buy a copy, and they just sent it to me for free, and they have done so on the next 2 volumes. This one is on this kind of lime coloured vinyl, lemon coloured vinyl, kind of an off yellow. Yeah, the compilations they're not what I call great, but they are interesting. They're a real eclectic mix of stuff on them. Sometimes it's kind of the similar. There are the same artists that turn up on some of the compilations. Like between volumes 1 and 2, there are a couple of artists that turned up on both, and the same with this one in volume 2. There's usually at least 2 or 3 really good tracks on them, and then a bunch of okay tracks, and then a bunch of tracks that I could probably live without. But to be honest, there's nothing really, really bad on them. They're actually quite cool, and they're quite. And I mean, and I love collecting New Zealand compilations, which actually brings me to some of today's finds. So I went down to Penny Lane, gave them the records I wanted to trade, and started looking through the bins while he was having a look at those and checking all up on them, because he probably had no idea what a couple of them were, at least. Anyway, gave me a really good trade for those, so I was able to pick up a few more records than I was intending to. So I was intending to go to I went to JB's as well, but the reason I was going to JB's is I wanted to see if I could find some more of those discounted Blue Note reissues. In the end, I found some at Penny Lane, so I'll get to those soon. But I did find some really cool stuff in the New Zealand bins, which I wasn't there a few weeks ago when I was last in the shop. The one that's playing behind me is this one. This has been on my want list for quite a while, and this is a very obscure sort of thing, but it's on a fairly well-known record label called Pagan, and I've shown a few other compilations from Pagan as well in the past. This is from 1992. It's a Dunedin compilation, Solid Cold Hits. There's a real mix of stuff on here that some I know, some I don't at all. I think a couple of tracks I've heard from Chris's podcast, Kiwi Music Show, in the past. The last track on side 1, which is, so this is the album that's playing behind me now. This is Des Fedris, who have been really active in the last couple of years and have put out like 3 new LPs in the last sort of like 3 or 4 years. But they've been around since 1992, so there's a track on this. So back in the early 90s, they were only releasing cassettes, so they're actually quite prolific. And then they went for a long time where Andrew Spittle, who's the leader of the band kind of thing, well, it's his project, he was in some other bands and stuff. But anyway, so yeah, really early Des Fedris. My Deviant Daughter was a band that I was familiar with their name. David Eggleton also familiar. But yeah, apart from that, yeah, some pretty obscure stuff on here. But yeah, definitely one I've really wanted to get on my want. It's been on my want list for, well, all of these have been on my want list that I'm going to show. There's an insert in here that does a bit of a talk about the bands, just, well, list of them. well, to be honest, just a list of their names, to be honest, anyway. I think this compilation was put together by the Radio 1, which was the local student radio station down in Dunedin. Right, so the other compilations I picked up today, and this one here caught me by surprise, and I thought I had no idea what it was, but it turned out it was on my Discogs want list, but I'd completely forgotten about it. It's called Auckland Music. It's from 1978. I don't know what it's going to be like. This is kind of one of those records I think they put out as a label, as a record sampler for the radio stations. And I have a few of those. Some of them were put out by radio stations. This one is on RTC Records, which are a fairly big label in New Zealand. The vinyl is absolutely stunning. It looks like it's never had a needle touch it, to be honest. I mean, I got a feeling that the radio station never ever played anything off it. Lip Service is a band who their record I've seen around quite a bit. I haven't really bought it. The other bands I kind of really have no idea who they are. And I suspect they'll be pretty middle of the road, late 70s sort of stuff. So I'm not expecting anything magical, but it's got a great cover. I really like this cover. Cool cover. And you know, like I say, I do have a bunch of other compilations along similar lines from the same sort of time period of New Zealand comps. So you know, I will buy pretty much any New Zealand comp, but there are a bunch of more commercial ones that I really not sure if I'll ever buy them, or if I see them cheap enough I'll buy them, because some of them are starting to get too expensive and the music on them isn't that good for them. But so, I don't know. How much some of those Haraki comps, homegrown ones, maybe, I'm not sure what they're like. I do see them around, but they're not ones that I really snap up if I see them, unless I've got nothing else to buy. But I'll probably get them one day. So, and the Hits and Myths, I had the other volume of that I don't have. Unfortunately, they wanted a bit much money for it. And then I picked up this one today, and I had actually seen it in the bins there, but they wanted too much for it. But he dropped $20 off the price. I got it for 50 instead of 70. This is pretty rare. On J-Rem Records. So J-Rem put out quite a lot of compilations back in the day. Some of them are fairly commercial. This one's heavy metal. So pretty much three of New Zealand's main metal bands back in the day. Tokyo, Nightshade and Strike Master. I don't have any other records by these bands. There is a Strike Master LP that turns up now and again. It's getting a bit pricey. To be honest, metal bands. I got another metal record compilation which wasn't put out in New Zealand. It was put out in the UK, but it was a sampler of New Zealand bands for the UK market. Some of these bands, I believe, are on that too. It's not the best of things, but was really pleased to pick up a Flying Nun record today, an original Flying Nun back. This is from 1992, the Chainsaw Masochist Periphery. This was their, I think it was their third LP release, but album release, but the other two previous to this were on cassette only. This is the only vinyl, apart from a couple of 7-inches, I believe, that they put out. Don't really remember much about them back in the day. This is from 1991, Flying Nun number 170. This is when Flying Nun was distributed by Festival Records, so kind of after, I think they've moved up to Auckland by that stage, had they? So they've been going, Flying Nun have been going for about 10 years already by that stage, so I don't know what this is going to be like. The record's in good nick, but to be honest, I will pretty much buy any Flying Nun that I can afford to. This wasn't hugely expensive, so it's obviously one that people aren't really keen to get their hands on. There were a lot of new releases in the New Zealand bins that I could have bought today. I probably could have spent all my money on them without going anywhere near the other bins. I'm glad I didn't, because picking up those cool comps. But I picked up this today, Soft Plastics Saturn Return. Now, I have no idea what's going to be on this. I have no idea. I haven't heard of it, but this got highly recommended on Flying Out. It was actually the top of their end of year list. So I thought I'd take a punt on it, have a listen to it. I think it's just on black vinyl. And then this one here, 1981, Riot 111. Riot 111 were a 5-piece punk band, and who released 2 singles back in the early 80s, in 80, 81, 82, 82, 81, and whatever. That are on. This is a compilation. This is put out again by Leather Jacket Records. I think the band itself were from Wellington. I think that they formed in reaction to the police. There was a lot of violence in 1981 around the Springbok tour of New Zealand in the rugby. Divided the nation big time, and I remember it pretty vividly. And seeing, I wasn't part of it, but seeing a demonstration down the road. I was 14 at the time. I was becoming a big rugby fan, and I still am a huge rugby fan. And I was becoming a rugby fan at that time, and so I wasn't against the protesters, what they were protesting, but maybe didn't understand it very well. But I was definitely into rugby. I wasn't involved in any of the protesters, but I did see them. I did see a big, massive protest down Ferry Road near the Lancaster Park. Anyway, it was a pretty dark time in New Zealand, and this band kind of formed as a reaction to that and put out some songs. And had a go at the police about their tactics and shit. So interesting compilation. Just come out just a few weeks back. Leather Jacket are putting out some pretty cool stuff. I've shown a couple other releases that they put out this year. The Sunday Painters, which is fantastic. There's some pretty out of it jazz coming out of this Dunedin compilation, which is really surprising me. That's totally unexpected. Right, so, and finally, the jazz records I picked up today. So the first one I grabbed when I saw it was this. Now, I'm posting some Blue Note jazz records last night. I had a bit of a jazz session with some of my Blue Note reissues and some of the older Blue Note stuff that I've had sitting in the bins. And I posted John Coltrane's Blue Train, which I believe is his only record that he ever released on Blue Note. And someone says, my favourite John Coltrane record is Ole, or however you say it. And he said there was a reissue just come out, and he said, I highly recommend it if you ever see it. And fuck me if I didn't see it in the bins today. And it was reduced like $25 off the list price. So I got it for pretty cheap. So I picked all these records up for $40. Now I don't mind paying $40 for these records, and I know that they're pretty cool. This one's on Rhino. It's reissued by Rhino. It's the original Atlantic. It's got the original Atlantic labels there, but look at that. It's on this ultra clear vinyl. So yeah, this is released on Rhino. I've had a play of it, and it sounds pretty cool. So it's just my first listen. 1961. This came out, so it's very early John Coltrane record, and it mentions on the back here that John Coltrane can also be heard on the following Atlantic LPs, which is Bags and Train with Milt Jackson and John Coltrane. That's 1368, so that wasn't too far away from this. And that, I'll just take my needle off my record. So that Milt Jackson, John Coltrane record was my very, very, very first jazz album that I bought way back in the 80s, mid-80s. I was still living at home, I'm pretty sure I remember, or it might have been after I moved back home, because I went away flatting for a while and then came back for a bit. So that was my very first album that I bought. It was a reissue that I bought on vinyl back in the day. I still have that. I don't have it on vinyl, I have it on CD. That's still... anyway, so yeah, really... so pleased to get that. That's pretty cool. And then on to the Blue Note. So, yeah, I'm really keen on picking up these Blue Note reissues, these 80 year of anniversary, which have kind of morphed into the classic album vinyl series, they're calling it now. So these have been remastered from the original analog tapes. I saw a really cool video, and they talked to the guy that's doing the remastering, and they showed a bit about the process of them. There was a couple of videos actually on YouTube. They were really cool. So yeah, I was really pleased to pick these up today, and for 40 bucks. So I was going to go. I did go into JB's because JB's have been getting in quite a few of these, and the Tone Poets. And if you're lucky on the day and you pick them up, you can pick them up for reasonable prices instead of because these here in Penny Lane are listing for $65 to $70 or $60 to $70. So anyway, he discounted all of these, what I'm going to show you, down to 40 bucks because obviously he hadn't sold them or wasn't selling them. Bobby Hutchison, San Francisco, 1971. I'm really pleased to get this. I haven't managed to play it all yet, but the first track on side one, Going Down South, Joe's sample track, I'm actually quite familiar with because I have those Blue Note breakbeat compilations on CD that I picked up way back, probably 20 plus years ago. All that really cool soul jazz from the 70s, funky soul jazz that the rappers were sampling, and that track is one of those on that. So yeah, this is about the third kind of 70s soul jazz Blue Note that I've picked up. So I'm really enjoying that because I do like that stuff. I mean, I know some of the jazz purists sort of don't talk about it as much with much fondness. So that was a good score. And then I'd seen this in the shop a bit, but again I had like 65 bucks on it. So I picked it up. He hadn't sold it, obviously been sitting in the bins for too long, so he whacked it down to 40 and I picked this up. So yeah, Sam Rivers, this was his debut album, I believe, from 1965. Jackie Beard, Ron Carter, Anthony Williams on the drums, so all players I'm pretty familiar with. I think I have a Sam Rivers LP that he did for ECM a bit later on, I believe, in the 70s. So I believe I do have one of those. So, and I really enjoyed that one. So I did play this before, but I wasn't particularly focused on it because I was busy putting these LPs into my Discogs. And the final one for today's hauls, I scored 10 LPs today, and I'm really, really overjoyed and pleased with what I scored. Lee Morgan, I have a couple of other reissues that he's done, but again, this is one of the actual 80th anniversary ones with the sticker before they changed it to the classic vinyl series. So this actually came out in 2020. I think these other two are 2023 releases. Yeah, 2023. Yeah, these are both coming out this year. This is 2020. So the Rumproller, 1962 originally this came out. So yeah, and so these are just they sound fantastic. I think I might have said in my last video because I picked up some Tone Poets from JB's. They sound stunning. These are pretty damn. I don't know what the difference is, apart from the Tone Poets are in gatefold. Maybe I think they did say on that video I watched there was a little bit more effort put into them. They do, but these are damn near as close. Interesting. I don't ever see original Blue Notes around here, or certainly not from the 50s and early 60s. I mean, I think I have an original 1969 Elvin Jones LP, an original copy, maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but interesting comments made in the video is about that they are doing a bit more tweaking on these remasterings, because they said that back in the day, even though the recordings on the master tapes are stunning recordings from those days, when they put them onto a vinyl, they didn't really make as much of an effort because they knew that most people did not really have really good hi-fi gear that they were going to be able to hear them that well. So something along those lines. So they didn't really, I don't know, that's what they reckoned on this video. So So these possibly sound better than what originals do, but I don't know. I don't have any originals to compare them. But these will do me. These are absolutely stunning, and if I can get them for 40 or $50, I'm more than happy. So my Blue Note collection is taken. I've picked up quite a bit. So anyway, I better stop prattling because we are at 25 minutes, and that's a long time for you to listen to me crapping on about records. So I'll let you get back to your day if you've managed to last this long. Happy New Year, and this is my last purchase of stuff for the year. So we'll maybe see you sometime in the new year. Cheers.